company town on what used to be solid ground. Nobody was ever gonna get sized down. Originally
25 before the hour. All right, so it's a new tactic, and it's being promoted by Alex Pourbaix, the TransCanada pipeline company. It's their president for energy and oil pipelines. And this guy who, this is a company wants to build a pipeline from Canada to Texas. And this freak said today that the project will have no measurable effect on global warming. Nothing, not to worry. He said opponents of the proposed Keystone XL pipeline have grossly inflated its likely impact on emissions of greenhouse gases. Pourbaix said Canada represents just 2% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Okay. He was at a forum sponsored by, who was it? National Association of Manufacturers. Of course, they support the pipeline. They want us all to die. What they want is a huge die-out of maybe half the population of the globe. These capitalist pigs do. And anything they can do to hurry that up, they will certainly do, because they believe that they will survive it. It's kind of like a modern-day hysteria, like Noah's Ark. The filthy rich, and they're filthy and they are rich. They honestly believe that they, like Noah and his sons and his wife and their wives, that they will survive this huge die-off. They believe it. So, of course, they support the idea of the XL pipeline, the 1,700-mile pipeline. And anyway, Pourbaix said Canada represents just 2% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And he said the oil sands concentrated in Alberta make up 5% of Canada's total. So, extrapolating from that, this genius went on to say that, quote, simple math tells us, therefore, that the oil sands represent only 0.1% of global greenhouse emissions, end quote. He further said, quote, even if production from the oil sands were to double, the greenhouse gas contribution from the oil sands would be immaterial to global greenhouse gas production, end quote. Now, of course, this comes 2 days after the big rally on Sunday in Washington that drew, 50,000 people, 40,000, 60,000, just a whole mess of people, right? But this guy now is that's the new meme. The new meme is, nah, come on, you people are lying your asses off. There's nothing. It's not going to have any effect on global warming. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Huh? What are you talking about? So anyway, the riff. Opponents say the pipeline would carry dirty oil, so-called, derived from tar sands. It requires significantly more energy to get it out of the ground than conventional crude. Emits up to 20% more greenhouse gases. But at this forum today in Washington, which was organized by the NAM, National Association of Manufacturers, of course, at the forum, Pourbaix just said, to anyone who was listening, all these right-wing thugs, his point was, you're being had. There's no there. There's nothing to worry about. Just sit down, shut up. And of course, the National Association of Manufacturers, they love that kind of talk. That's what they pay the big bucks to hear. Just makes you want to do something drastic, doesn't it sometimes? I mean, you ever get that feeling where you realize that nobody's listening, and the only people who are getting their way are the 1/10 of 1% who pretty much control everything. And, here you are, here I am, just kind of down in the dirt, looking up at the master's feet. I mean, don't you ever get that feeling that you've got to do something and you don't know what to do, but you know that what you have to do simply is not inside the system. It's not there. So, the guy from Keystone XL said, quote, "Our opponents are trying to make this debate about greenhouse gases," or he called them GHGs. That's the new shorthand among the nation's or the globe's killers, GHGs. So he said, let's look at Canada's contribution to global GHGs. And then he came up with his numbers. Pourbaix called Canada a leader on climate change and noted that Alberta was the first jurisdiction in North America to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. He pointed out that Alberta, the province Alberta, has also imposed a carbon tax, an action that the Obama administration has said it will not propose. Oil carried by Keystone will displace heavy crude from Venezuela, Nigeria, and other countries that also contribute to global warming, Mr. Pourbaix said. He added, quote, "You could shut down oil sands production tomorrow and it would have absolutely no measurable impact on climate change," end quote. Now, Michael Mann, who's a climate scientist at Penn State, said Pourbaix's comments appeared to be based on, quote, "some rather rosy assumptions," end quote, about oil sands production. First, the calculation does not take into account the energy cost of refining and transporting the oil from the tar sands, nor does it account for a huge reserve that could make the Alberta tar sands a key contributor to global warming in the very near future. Canadian officials have called development of the tar sands, not necessarily the pipeline, but the development of the tar sands as a national priority. Now, as you know, a couple of things. First of all, Obama has said climate change is a serious threat. In his State of the Union message last week, he urged Congress to fight it. He said he will use executive authority to cut greenhouse gas pollution if Congress fails to act, right? Didn't he say that? Huh? Didn't he say that? He did. He said that. And twice he has thwarted the Keystone XL pipeline because of concerns about, at least publicly, about its route through sensitive land in Nebraska. But, the governor of Nebraska approved a new route through that state last month. So now we're waiting on the State Department. Maybe that's the reason Hillary Clinton bailed out. What do you think? Because the State Department has authority over the project because it crosses an international border. So now everybody is kind of waiting to see what decision President Obama is going to make. Has anyone started any betting pools on how this is going to go? What do you think? Do you think the leader of the free world is going to make an effort to stop this? What do you think? You already said that. I don't know. I don't know. It's just madness, isn't it? Isn't it? You want to hear something?